When a wolf cub is shot by a hunter, the mama wolf gets her baby to safety, but the cub is badly hurt and its life is in danger. Desperate for help, the mama wolf turns to a young nurse, and what the nurse does next will surprise you. Megan was about to go back inside her apartment when she heard a noise in the bushes nearby. Suddenly, a wolf appeared and looked right into her eyes. Instead of feeling scared, Megan noticed deep sadness in the wolf's eyes. The wolf quickly disappeared, but Megan felt their meeting wasn't over. She put her medical bag on the snowy ground and waited. Soon, the wolf returned, this time carrying a tiny cub in her mouth. She placed the cub at Megan's feet, her eyes begging for help. The mama wolf was asking the nurse to save her baby. What the nurse did next will surprise you. If Megan hadn't been at home helping her elderly neighbor, who knows what would have happened to the cub. Earlier that day, Megan had pulled back her curtains and saw the ground covered in snow. It had snowed overnight, making her trip to work harder. She wrapped her robe tighter around herself because it was freezing outside, and all she wanted to do was stay in bed, but she had too much to do before going to work. Megan loved her hospital job, but on days like this, she wished she could stay home. Before her shift, she needed to check on her elderly neighbor, Eliza. Eliza didn't have any family visiting her, and living in a remote area made it hard for her to get out. For the past year, Megan had checked on her every day, often helping with grocery shopping or taking her out for coffee. But with all the snow, Megan knew she couldn't take Eliza out today. She would need to get a list and do the shopping for her. Megan bundled up in the warmest clothes she could find and headed straight to Eliza's. When she got there, though, something wasn't right. Megan knocked on the door and waited, but there was no answer. Eliza had given her a key for emergencies, so the young nurse dug around in her pocket to let herself in. It was odd that Eliza hadn't answered. She was usually up early. Despite her age and being a little unsteady on her feet, Eliza was generally in good health. With no one else around to visit her, Megan made sure to check on her at least once a day so the old woman didn't feel lonely. When Megan opened the door, she was met with silence and a cold chill, which deepened her worry. Eliza always had the TV on, so the quiet and freezing apartment were unsettling. Megan called out, and after a moment, heard a faint reply from the bedroom. Inside, she was shocked to find Eliza looking small and frail under blankets. Eliza explained she had woken up to a freezing apartment, tried to fix the boiler, but tripped and hurt her wrist. Her wrist was swollen and purple, clearly broken. Megan wanted to take her to the hospital, but realized they would have to wait for an ambulance due to the snow. She told Eliza she would go and start the car to warm it up, then come back and strap her wrist for support before they headed to the hospital. But at the worst possible moment, Megan's car wouldn't start. She rushed back to Eliza's apartment to break the bad news, cursing herself for not being able to afford a better car. They had no choice now but to wait for an ambulance. Megan focused on making the old woman as comfortable as possible. First, she needed to get her somewhere warm. Megan helped Eliza over to her apartment and got her settled on the sofa with plenty of pillows and blankets. Then, she fetched her medical kit and carefully strapped Eliza's wrist. Afterward, she needed to prepare something for Eliza to eat so she could take some painkillers while they waited. As Eliza warmed up, her condition improved, but she still needed to get to the hospital. Megan felt relieved when the ambulance arrived and went to brief the paramedics about Eliza's condition.
Before we begin, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos.
Meanwhile, outside her apartment, a mama wolf, injured from running through brambles, was dealing with her own tragedy. Her cub had been shot by a hunter and was dying. Desperate, the mama wolf placed her cub on the ground and licked its wound, trying to wake it, but the cub remained still. Fearing for her cub's life, the wolf hid in a bush, unsure where to turn for help. When an ambulance pulled up nearby, the wolf was terrified and placed a protective paw over her baby as she watched the humans from her hiding place. The flurry of activity soon calmed, but the wolf spotted a young woman walking across the path right near the bush. She glanced down at her cub. Its breathing was shallow, and it was growing colder by the second. If the mama wolf didn't take a chance now, the cub wouldn't survive. Megan had just finished telling the paramedics about Eliza's condition and was grabbing extra bandages for her wrist when she heard a rustling sound. It was unusual for wolves to come near town, but when Megan locked eyes with the wolf, she felt sadness instead of fear. The wolf disappeared briefly, only to return carrying a tiny cub in her mouth. Placing the cub at Megan's feet, the wolf pleaded for help. Megan's heart broke. She didn't know how to save a wolf cub, but knew she had to try. She picked up the cold, injured cub, noticing it had been shot. Megan worked carefully to remove the bullet while the mama wolf watched from the ambulance floor. Though nervous, Megan successfully removed the bullet and cleaned the wound, hoping she had done enough to save the cub. With a gentle tug, she pulled the bullet out and held it up to the light. She was relieved to see that it hadn't fragmented, meaning there were no pieces left in the cub. Now, she needed to flush out the wound and dress it, but she could hear voices approaching the ambulance. She knew how strange the scene must look and was sure the paramedics would be angry at what she was doing, but there was no way she could give up on the cub now. She just hoped the mama wolf remained calm. When the paramedics arrived with Eliza, the mama wolf jumped in surprise. Megan quickly calmed her and explained the situation. The paramedics, annoyed, told Megan the wolves needed to be removed so they could take Eliza to the hospital. But Eliza left everyone speechless by climbing into the ambulance and sitting beside Megan. She calmly told the paramedics she wasn't going anywhere until the nurse finished treating the cub. Eliza assured them she was fine and didn't mind a delay. No one could argue. Megan, deeply touched, got back to work. 30 minutes later, the cub was treated and its condition improved as the mama wolf watched. But now, the young nurse had no idea what to do with the wolves. She had done all she could to save the dying cub, but Eliza really needed to get to the hospital. Megan looked at the old woman, and as if reading her mind, Eliza grabbed hold of the nurse's hand and told her to stay with the wolves. "You can't do anything else for me right now, but they need you," she explained. The nurse, with tears in her eyes, promised Eliza she'd pick her up from the hospital later, even if she had to take a taxi. Megan gently lifted the cub, now awake, and walked out of the ambulance with the mama wolf following. She placed the cub in the bushes where the wolves had been hiding, and the mama wolf curled around her cub protectively. Megan left them to rest and later picked Eliza up from the hospital. They kept the wolves' recovery a secret, and twice a day, Megan checked on the cub, eventually removing the bandages. The cub recovered fully, running around with newfound energy. As the wolves prepared to leave, the mama wolf paused, walked back, and nuzzled Megan's hand in gratitude. It was a moment that would stay with her forever. Megan and Eliza often talked about the wolves, growing closer after the experience. Megan sometimes felt it was a dream, but at night, she could hear the distant howls of wolves and knew she had done the right thing. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.